All right, first thing we're going to talk about coaches on the hot seat in 2026. Now, tough subject for some, okay? Got five coaches here. You could argue maybe there's some more. There was so much coaching change in the past year, right? This past college football season, during the season, that you have to think about, are that many coaches really in that dire situation? Because it seems like we have so many first-year head coaches, or, so many second-year head coaches, or so many coaches that didn't get fired because their programs seem to want to reinvest into the program. So these are a list of people that I think if they don't do good this season, if things don't go right in 2026, these are the coaches that I think will be fired. All right, first one on the list, and I want you to be paying attention to this one, Down South Media. I want to get your thoughts. Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer is number one on my list for coaches on the hot seat in 2026. Let's go through his last 5 seasons. The 5 seasons he's been the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Shane Beamer is 7-6, 8-5, 5-7, 9-4, and 4-8. So, look, obviously, last season, when you think about let's think about just 2025 for a second, okay? Let's take away that great run in 2024. Let's talk about just 2025. He lost 3 games last year while having a fourth quarter lead. Missouri, Alabama, and Texas A&M. And we don't need to go into detail about what happened in the Texas A&M game, but it was a very blown lead. The other 5 games, he lost to Vanderbilt 31-7, LSU 20-10, Oklahoma 26-7, Ole Miss 30-14, and Clemson 28-14. So we couldn't muster up more than 14 points offensively all last season in any losses that we didn't have a lead in the fourth quarter. So that's a concern. Now, Shane Beamer did do something. He addressed the offensive coordinator and the offensive problems. They fired Mike Shula. Okay, if I botched the name, let me know, Down South Media. But they hired Kendall Briles. Now, if you don't know the name, Kendall Briles is, the son of Art Briles. So hopefully no scandals going on there in South Carolina when this happens, but they do have kind of a fixed problem, or at least are trying to fix the problem, right? The offensive line last year was awful. Looks like they went into the portal, kind of mixed up and kind of got some of those things going again. They've still got Lenore Sellers. They've still got Dylan Stewart. So you could argue Dylan Stewart is arguably the best defensive player in the SEC. Lenore Sellers, when he gets it going, when he's got time, when they've got an offensive system that works for him, he can be a Heisman candidate. Look, I said it last year going into last season. He can be a Heisman candidate. So I need to see that again out of South Carolina in 2026. I know it's not a perennial winning program, so I'm not saying they got to go win 10 games. What I'm saying is Shane Beamer cannot be clowning around like he did this past season. He cannot be clowning around the way he did going into the halftime against Texas A&M thinking the game was over. I've watched a lot of Shane Beamer press conferences. The guy really should want to get out of press conferences more than he wants to be in them. I think he wants to be in them way too much, way too long, okay? So Shane Beamer, get the offense fixed, get the offensive line, get the run game fixed with Lenoris or whoever you have at running back position. Things have got to get better because South Carolina football, when it's good, those fans are loud and they're fun to have around, okay? But sometimes, and most of the time, it's sad. And last year, just the way they lost those games, losing all those games in the fourth quarter, not having any offense, it's a problem. And Shane Beamer is responsible for that. And on top of that, 2 of the last 3 seasons have been losing records. That just can't keep going. It just can't keep happening. If you go 3 out of 4 losing seasons and you end the Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart campaign with absolutely nothing to show for it other than a 9-3 season and a loss to Illinois in the Citrus Bowl or whatever, the Cheez-It Bowl, whatever you had that year, that's just not going to cut it. So that's what I've got. Number 1 is Shane Beamer. Let's check the chat. Absolute hater. Absolute hater. But agreed, he needs to get the 8 wins. Here we go. Number 2, Mike Norvell. Little interesting situation here, okay? Because Mike, I almost said Nike. Mike Norvell, he should have been fired already, right? But they kept him because essentially Florida State can't fire him because they have not enough money. They're losing money. They're like the biggest in-depth program in college football. His 6 seasons at Florida State: 3-6, 5-7, 10-3, 13-1, 2-10, 5-7. And now he's lost Gus Malzahn, who left, who I think he retired. I think that's what it was. So he's back to calling the plays for Florida State, which he used to do a couple years ago. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. Apparently, Florida State fans aren't happy about it, but I wouldn't be happy from a Florida State fan with anything that Mike Norvell has done in the last 2 seasons. I think one thing you could point to is Thomas Castellanos last year wasn't the worst quarterback in the world, but he's not like the best passer. And then you think about the year before, DJ Uiagalelei. I mean, he was just abysmal, which you kind of saw coming. He had a prior season at Oregon State that gave some life, but it was just awful for them in 2024. And now he's bringing in Ashton Daniels to be his quarterback. Can Mike Norvell just develop a quarterback? Do they not recruit quarterbacks there? Like, is there not a quarterback he can make good? I mean, I don't understand. Like, what does the coach do? If he's going to be calling the offensive plays, so he obviously has a hand in offensive football, and he can't make a quarterback for nothing out of his own recruiting classes. He just keeps going and getting these mid guys out of the portal. I mean, Ashton Daniels last year at Auburn, I don't know if anybody saw what Jackson Arnold did last year, but it wasn't great. Ashton Daniels had some okay games at Auburn, but I just don't know if that's going to cut it. He has got to go get some real talent. And the statistics last year, when you look at Florida State, they were a very good offensive team in terms of the yardage they were putting up a lot in those early games, obviously with Alabama in the 2 early games they played against nobodies, and the Virginia game. They put up some offensive numbers. They just got to win games. And I think if they maybe got a better quarterback that was better in situations on third downs, red zone, things like that, that would fix it. And probably somebody that had some camaraderie with the team, but they just need to win games in Florida State. I don't really care how it happens. Florida State, if you would think if he goes to a bowl game this season, then Florida State fans are going to be happy about it. I'm just saying, win some games, Mike Norvell, because they obviously can't fire you. So just take the advantage. But you would think they cannot hold on to him again if they have a bad season, or they're just going to lose the fan base. They're going to lose the entire fan base if they just don't get rid of him after 3 straight losing seasons. You cannot be doing that at Florida State. So that's number 2. All right, number 3, Luke Fickell. Another situation where he doesn't get fired after, his last 3 seasons, 7-6, 5-7, 4-8. So he's gotten worse every year at Wisconsin. And Wisconsin used to be one of those teams that you just thought were consistently good. They were like Georgia in the Mark Richt days. Like, they were good. They were never great, but they were good. They were a good football team. And he tried to change a lot of things, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. But until they said they weren't going to fire him, they were investing a lot into NIL and spending a lot of money. There was a lot of reports that Wisconsin was spending big bags in the NIL world, transfer portal world. The quarterback situation the last couple of years has been absolutely awful. There was a game last year Wisconsin won against Washington where the punter was the leading passer with 24 yards. So that's how bad the passing situation last year was for Wisconsin. I remember Tyler Van Dyke was the quarterback the year before that. He got hurt against Alabama. So it has just been rough going there for Wisconsin in the quarterback situation. Last year they scored 10 points or less 7 times. 7 times they scored 10 points or less. That's how bad the offense was. That was an atrocious offense they had out there in Madison, Wisconsin. Wisconsin used to be a tough, physical, Monty Ball, Melvin Gordon, James White. I'm probably missing some off the top of my head that I just can't think of. But they used to just have running backs and offensive line that would just pound you, and they were a tough physical team. They had some really good defensive linemen. You think about J.J. Watt. You just the list of great football players come out of Wisconsin. They used to be a good football team, and you just don't hear about that anymore. So hopefully they get that fixed up. But if they're going to keep Luke Fickell, keep him around, and say, hey, buddy, you're going to have to start winning some games, that's what I'm going to say too. Because Luke Fickell was a great coach at Cincinnati, and now it just seems like he's kind of dying off in Wisconsin, which is sad to see, but he's got to start winning some ball games. Number 4, Dave Aranda. He's going into his 7th year at Baylor. His first 6 years, 2-7, 12-2. They won the Big 12 that year. 6-7, 3-9, 8-5, 5-7. And this guy, look, it's the Big 12, okay? So, take it with a grain of salt. But this guy's a defensive coach. He got hired because he was the defensive coordinator for LSU back when they won the national championship, and he has just not done anything good defensively at Baylor. They hired a new DC from Kansas State, Joe Klanderman. So they're trying to fix that problem. They were one of the worst defenses in the Big 12 last year. They actually gave up 32 points a game. Only Oklahoma State, who did fire their head coach, was worse in defense last year than Baylor. And Baylor had a really good So they have had a good offense and good weapons, but their defense has really let them down. It's a wide open league, and Baylor's got to be in the race. I picked Baylor last year to win the Big 12. That didn't work out. That didn't work out at all. He's got to get it going, because if you're going to be in the Big 12 in your last three of your last 4 years, you have losing records, it's just not going to cut it, dude. You're going this way. You got to go this way. You're going this way. You got to go this way. So Dave Aranda's just got to get it going. They just got DJ Lagway, so maybe the offense stays good. But again, the offense wasn't the problem. They brought in a coach to help fix the defense, but Dave Aranda definitely on the hot seat going into 2026. And the last one I got right here, Bill Belichick, the GOAT, right? Some would say not a Hall of Famer, not a Hall of Famer as of now in the National Football League. Bill Belichick went 4-8 last year for North Carolina. None of the wins were impressive. Not a single one. I don't think they beat a single team that went to a bowl game. Look, Bill Belichick, and I said this last year on the Deep Shot podcast at one point, that they should have just got rid of him when it was going south at one point. And I don't know if my guy Caleb Vega's watching, but if he is, say something in the chat. This one's for you. Look, he is too old, first of all, and he has too much drama that goes around him with the Jordan stuff and just everything else that happens with Bill Belichick being there, right? Camera crews, everything else that goes on. And they've invested too much for this football program that was not great before, but wasn't awful, wasn't a laughingstock. They have got to get something out of Bill Belichick this year, or they've just wasted time. Okay, you can't go into year 3 with Bill Belichick being like, all right, I hope we make a bowl game this year with Bill. I mean, come on. You put your neck out there and hired one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and you won 4 games. Your offense was abysmal, which they got a couple transfer quarterbacks. They got 3 new quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. So something's got to hit, right? They hired Bobby Petrino, which is another, issue, right? You bring in that guy with Bill Belichick. I mean, issues on issues, right? And so something's got to get fixed on the offense. But the defensively also, that has got, Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick, his son, who is the defense coordinator, those things have just got to be, like that. Like, that cannot be a problem. So I think if Bill Belichick does not make a bowl game this year, it's over. The project is over. You're wasting so much time if you're North Carolina. If you do not go and get somebody else other than this guy that can build the program, because if the program's just doing this with this guy, we're just not doing what we're supposed to be. Yeah, the offense was awful. Had the running game last year, 120th in the country. Not going to cut it. Bill Belichick teams run the football, play good defense. They didn't do good either last year. Yeah, the shit's got to get fixed.